This episode of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
This is Allison Lee Rosenfeld, the voice of Bonnie and Nurse Joy from Pokemon, Rio Castle, Riley, and Allie from Yu-Gi-Oh!, and star of Crumbly Kitchen. You're listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live.
Welcome to the show that gives you all the news, views, and opinions in the world of gaming. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extras Select Start with your host, Xavier Josiah. Power up and game on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. I hope everybody, as always, is having a great week this week. And there is a lot of gaming news to talk about. We are just days away from this year's 2019 E3 event. And before this event is even coming, we're getting so many reveals before. This has been crazy. Of all the years that I've been following E3, I don't believe I've ever seen so many early reveals of games come out before E3. I don't know what the hell is going on. I have never heard anything, any dissension or anything going on as far as E3 is concerned, but like Sony and Nintendo and a few others have been revealing, details of games before then. So it's been crazy, but we got some news to talk about here, definitely, in the world of gaming, including the recent Pokemon Direct that just came out, and there's a lot of news to talk about that because they are changing the game for that game series and adding on some really great things. It's a wonder. I talk about this all the time when in terms of the Mario series with Shigeru Miyamoto and how he manages to change every Mario game every single time and add something different, which is why the longevity of that game has lasted so long. And Game Freak does the exact same thing. They follow the same formula, have some of the same basic fundamentals, but change it up, differently every single time, giving us something new and different to work with. That way, we go back to these games and we notice that there's a different experience throughout the whole thing. You still have the same maps to some extent. You'll have maybe the same style of fighting, but to their credit, they have added some different things and done some different things with the franchise. I began to stop playing the Pokemon games for a time because of the fact that I felt like they weren't doing it. I think around the time when Pokemon Stadium was out for the 64, I was a little bit fed up because here we got a new updated system at the time in the 64. And I tended to be really pissed off. I'm like, all right, we're finally in 3D. Let's see these actual creatures interact with each other in a way that we couldn't do it in the actual Game Boy system. And here we are, we're transferring all this data and information from the Game Boy onto the 64. And lo and behold, they're still standing there. They're still staying there, still turn-based. We're not seeing nearly enough. I was highly upset at this Stadium game, and I'm like, and I heard Pokemon Stadium 2 was just the same stuff. It's like, come on, you gotta give us more. Thank goodness, over the years, with better technology and more updated systems and new-gen systems, we were able to see that. We got Pokken Tournament thanks to Bandai Namco, who gave us, in my opinion, one of my favorite Pokemon experiences is Pokken Tournament, is that they're actually letting you see the Pokemon fight each other in such a way that I believe that that's the way you should see a Pokemon battle. And now, they even the turn-based versions have even gotten better. They actually added some interactive moves and attacks and stuff in there, so you're getting a different flavor. Plus, the open world or open city at the time allowed you to get in a little bit more and get you more interactive and inverse with the actual world that they live in. I give credit to Pokemon Y and X. I love those games. Sun and Moon was also really well done. Never got to play the other one in the middle of those two, but I love what they did with that. And of course, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee were really well done as a rehash of the original game, and just very well done. And it looks like that Game Freak is taken from that. I had a hunch that that game was just a precursor for what they're about to do in this newer version, which even expands more of what they did from Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. You know, this was just like a prelude of things to come. And after what we saw from this Pokemon Direct, and from what they told us, they gave us just a little bit of what we're going to see in this game. And this little bit to me was quite a bit. So let's talk about what we saw. A little bit of the highlights of what we saw on this one too. So one of the things that I really, really focused on, and we can't deny, we got to talk about this, the dynamic system. And the dynamic system, for those who didn't get a chance to see the Pokemon Direct, which you could go on, you can actually go on to YouTube. Is up and available now. You can check it out. Or if you own a Nintendo Switch, it's on there now. You can check it out there if you haven't already. But and this is all my opinion from what I saw and what I felt. The dynamic system is a new game-changing aspect to me, to the series, because now you get to use these giant-sized Pokemon that can do heavy damage in a match. So these are like huge, ginormous boss battles in a sense. These moves used with the dynamics Pokemon will become what is called Powerful Maximus. So the dynamics Pokemon are limited to a few turns per battle. If you manage to catch one, and yes, you can catch one, you are able to only use them a few times per battle. Now, think about that. I was thinking about that in a way of, what is that? Super Dragon Ball Heroes, the world missions that just came out a while back, and I've reviewed. If you use a promotional card or a special card to some extent, you're only allowed to use those cards like once or twice per battle, depending on which card that you're using. And it's kind of like that, where because they do some type of special or heavy damage or gain a great advantage in the match when you play it. So this is kind of in that certain type of format as well. So these types of Pokemon will be found in certain areas in what is called the Galar region, which includes also gyms as well. You will have a chance to actually capture these Pokemon with the use of a giant Pokeball. They have not revealed, to my knowledge, if I didn't catch it, they didn't reveal the name of what those giant Pokeballs are, but they're like huge Pokeballs that require two hands for you to throw at them. So it's really cool. They enlarge and you toss them over, rather to catch them or to release a dynamics Pokemon in there. And it's really, really cool. It really steps up the game and really changed the aspect of how you played the game before. So when they come in, you got to have a different strategy, and that's awesome. These dynamics Pokemon will also consist of raid battles, which now gives you the chance to team up with your friends locally or others online to defeat giant-sized Pokemon. Only one of the trainers within these raid battles will be able to summon a dynamics Pokemon of their own. So it will require you to be a little bit more strategic, and hopefully if you're working with friends locally, you guys can come up with a strategy as to when to summon that Pokemon. Otherwise, if you're online, you guys hopefully will be able to know when is the best time to release that Pokemon, because once you do it, it needs to be at a time when you're going to gain more leverage and advantage of the battle at the time. So you got to be careful with that, and I like that. I like that factor. A new expanded open world, will be included in this series, and if you see this open world, it's, first of all, it's drop dead beautiful. You could tell looking at it that it kind of takes, shades of Breath of the Wild in a sense, that type of open world. So you get that feel. I don't know if it's like all open world where it doesn't load or whatever like that, but that would be awesome in the same sense. I'm pretty sure that they're going to take, shades from Breath of the Wild with that open world thing. So that'd be really cool. You don't have to load into anything, which you never really did. You didn't do it in Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee as well, but it looks really great and it expanded. There's not like an open world city. It just looking like you're just traveling from, countryside to countryside, if you will. And there's going to be a lot in this. As you travel through the game, you will see Pokemon roaming around and living in new worlds here, in the new world as well. So there's also sections of the world that are going to be considered called wild areas, where you guessed it, there will be variety of wild Pokemon in the Galar region. Much like the previous games that you will venture through the areas and cities where there's going to be some wild Pokemon in those areas as well. So expect that to happen as this come along as well. Trainers will also have the use of new Pokemon using your new version of the Rotom system, or the Rotom phone. It's not, if you guys remember from, I believe from Y and X and Sun and Moon, it was like your Pokedex, but it actually talks to you. This time they have a smartphone version of it. So this is like a new compact version of the phone, which has all your Pokedex data in there, as well as other new functions that it will be able to do as well. I think if you have certain vehicles or whatever like that, it'll be able to do some extra things once it attached to it. Let's talk about the new Pokemon in this too. The new Pokemon were introduced, including Wooloo, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is like a sheep Pokemon. Gossifleur, I'm probably butchering that, which is a flowering Pokemon that can evolve into what is called an Eldegoss, which is the evolved form of Gossifleur, which I wish they would give more simpler names here. Drenal, which is a bite Pokemon, and Corviknight, which is a raven Pokemon who can be your taxi to help you travel to different areas in the Galar region. Again, if you played any Pokemon game, there's always a bird type Pokemon that can always help you travel easier to, or a flight Pokemon that can help you travel to easier areas. So that's going to be that. There are also new characters that will be introduced into the series as well, that will be more of a focus in the storyline. Leon is the new Galar region champion. This really fly looking dude. He looks like a Pokemon character version of Matt or Jeff Hardy, or more like Jeff Hardy, if you will, from WWE or wrestling. But he's wearing a cape and all this stuff, and he has this cool swagger look and everything. So Leon will be the Galar region, the region champion there. The baddest of the baddest over there. There's also Hop, who is Leon's little brother and your rival in the game. Your rival being that you are going to be a part of the game as your avatar. Really interesting. I didn't look this up, but this could be a first. I could be wrong here, but this could be a first. Professor Magnolia, the game's possibly first female professor. Now, granted, again, I haven't played all of the Pokemon games, so there could have been another female professor, but this is the first time I've ever seen a female professor in here, so if somebody can correct me on that. There's also Sonia, who is Professor Magnolia's granddaughter and assistant. I don't know, could be wrong. Sometimes storylines have been known to give you a twist, but who knows? This could be the main villain of the actual series. So let's see how that goes from there. There's always a twist in these things. They haven't shown us or revealed a Team Rocket or any type of new evil organization of sorts in here. So who knows? There could be a twist in this somewhere. Or it could be the Professor Magnolia as well. Who knows? We just don't know. Pokemon Gyms now have a more updated and advanced look. It actually gives the look of the Pokemon Stadium that I was just mentioning from the 64. This looks like a actual stadium with an actual audience and showing both Pokemon and trainers in the field, much like Pokemon Let's Go series as well. So actually, if you want to say it, it goes back to Sun and Moon, actually, that I believe really put it out there, but it really didn't give us that really sports feel, and I believe Let's Go and this one has successfully done that more to give you that more sports-like feel to it. So I think that's pretty damn cool. They also have they also give you the introduction of the grass gym leader Milo as well. Really cool buff like dude. He has a bunch of different, Pokeballs, like 6 Pokeballs, 3 on each side. Is really like he's ready to compete. So the last bit of news that the showcase actually revealed was 2 legendary Pokemon named Zacian and Zamazenta, which are 2 wolf-themed Pokemon here. Zacian, and I'm probably butchering that name, I gotta watch that again, carries a sword, and Zamazenta has a shield built into its armor. Now, it's really interesting because I love the design of these characters. They kind of remind me of, if you guys are anime fans like that, they kind of remind me of the Ronin Warriors, to some extent. That type of armor with the white tiger used to wear. And some cases, Saint Seiya. And I'll talk about more of who else looks like Saint Seiya on this Sunday on Talk Time Live, the Prime show, as well, because some new pictures of a new, much-anticipated movie just came out, so I'll just leave it at that. If you guys probably know what I'm talking about, if you've already seen it. But, yeah, so these are the 2 new legendary Pokemon. Now, here's my beef. Here's the one thing, and it was cute when it first started, but after a while, now grown me is looking at this, grown me who are paying. Oh, I've always paid for my own games, but grown me here that looks back at these type of series and this marketing strategy, that these gaming marketing strategies that Game Freak has really started. They're the ones that really started doing this, and what I'm talking about is basically they began to do the 2 versions of games. Like you had Red and Blue. It was Red and Blue, which was first started. The very first Pokemon games was Red and Blue. Yellow came out later, which included you getting Pikachu. But all these other game companies started doing it too. Inti Creates does it too with Mark of the Dragon as well. The part that pisses me off about it is that the only difference about these games is that you get 2 different Pokemon that you can't get in any other game. You get both of these games. Think about this. Think about this for 1 second. I know people tend to let their fandom take over, but think about this for 1 second. You're paying for the same game with just 1 extra additive. And here's the thing about with Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, and why I did not even think about buying a second game, because 1, they're 2 of the same games with the 2 same experience. The only contrast from it is that you actually get a different Pokemon. When it came to Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, same game experience, exact same game experience, and even more, I got an Eevee. I got 3 Eevees in my Pikachu version. If you buy Eevee, you can get Pikachu in the same versions, and you could carry him along, and you could pick him to come along with you and do the exact same thing. It's not worth paying for that if you're going to get the exact same experience. It's not worth it. So if you're going to buy 2 games that have the same experience, aren't you kind of really legit wasting your money? Even if you say like this one has the legendary Pokemon that's exclusively to that, and the other one, it's really the same thing. It really is the same. Like if I'm going to pay another $40, $50, $60 for a game that is another version of a game, no, you got to give me something different. A few new levels, some new weaponry, not just 1 legendary Pokemon. I'm sorry, it's not worth it. There's no value in it. Your game will not have. I've not seen a game go up in value as far as collectibles ever, because they're so the production of it is just, you can mass produce these things so much. There's no real value to it to some extent. At least not yet. But honestly, it really is not worth it, in my opinion, to do that. Like, you got to give me something more. You got to give me some new levels, something new that will bring it to the table for me to say, like, all right, after I play this and I play this version, I want to go and play this version because there's some new battles, there's some new stories, you got to give more than that. To me, at this point, at this stage, you got to up it. You got to up the ante. So I've refused to pay for both. So if I like, I've never done that. I've never bought 2 versions of any. I think, no, that's not true. I've actually brought Red, and then I brought Yellow because Yellow had Pikachu in there, and they never gave you Pikachu. But after that, it was just like everything was like, I don't want to buy Sapphire and Ruby, or because you're just getting the same thing, but a different, and they both of the legendary Pokemon are like equally powerful. You just gotta like one or the other. It's like people try to think that they, I like how some gamers like to think that they're the shit because like they get both of them, but honestly, you're not. That's not going to get you any more popularity. Honestly, if it should make you look like, I don't want to say an idiot. I don't want to say an idiot, but you're kind of fooling yourself, and you're allowing them to play you up by just getting both. As great as those games are, getting the same experience and playing through the game over again just for one. Come on, we deserve a little bit more than that. I'm just saying. But with that said, I am absolutely happy to be able to play this game when it comes out on November 15th. Sword and Shield will be released on November 15th, 2019. I believe that's like the fourth quarter pretty much, so gives you enough time to save money or pre-order it when it comes out. And also they announced that a Sword and Shield dual pack will be available for purchase as well. More info will be coming for that soon. So I love the showcase. I love everything about it. I will probably absolutely invest in one of the versions of that game and guaranteed will enjoy it. But damn, if I want to play it again, I'm just playing a new version of the game. I'll just restart a new game. That's pretty much it. But nah, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on that note. But I am absolutely psyched about this game that's coming out. It looks like it's going to give us a whole new venture. And again, they haven't given us all. That was just a flavor of what things to come in this game. So maybe they will reveal that these two games will have different aspects, and I hope so. I just think that they really should give us more than just one legendary Pokemon with the same experience. That's just my opinion on that. So just give a little bit of note on other news. More Nintendo news, actually. New games added to Nintendo in the month of June. Classics, City Connection, which is it's not the most popular game. I would say this is a cult classic, if you will, but it's a weirdly interesting game where it just involves what looks like sort of a compact car driving away and being chased away by these other cars, and the platforms that you're on, you got to drive on every platform. This is kind of like, it's hard to describe, but each platform that you're on, you got to tail it, and your platforms become hollow, and then they fill up with white color in it as you go by. I never understood the game itself, but the game was so visually cool to see that you just played it just to see them doing it. But you're being chased by other cars, and there's these other platforms in different layers and different levels, like a top level, a middle level, and a bottom level. And you're just chasing around, but you're filling up this car. It's almost in a way of Pac-Man, in a sense. And that was just the case. I never really beat the game. I never had an intention to beat the game. I just loved the way that how they designed it and how the car just, for a 8-bit 2D game, for a car to be able to, have dimension like that and turn around in the way that it did. So they put a lot of framework and sprites into that sprite of the car. It was really cool. But that's going to be available. The NES version of Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, is going to be available as well. Now, the interesting part about this game and the original Double Dragon on the NES is that the NES wasn't as powerful as the arcade versions. And by the way, the arcade version is available on the Nintendo Switch in the eShop. So if you want to get that, you can buy that and own it in there. But you can also play the single player version on here. And that was the interesting part, was the actual version on the game. First of all, they didn't have the graphic power to match the actual one in the arcades. So they had a sort of a really cool looking 8-bit version. And two, you couldn't play as two players. They just didn't have the power to play two players like you do in the arcade version, which is why I own both Double Dragon 1 and 2 on the arcade, in the archives version, because it was like you never got a chance to do that. Now, Double Dragon 2 is a little bit harder because the controls are different. Instead of actually using a punch or a regular punch, kick, jump, they have left punch or left attack and right attack. So if somebody's coming at you on the left side, you got to hit them with the left attack. And then if somebody's coming at you on the right, it's their right attack. But also, it's really weird because, like, if everybody's swarming at you, you got to really know how to get through everybody. Luckily, there's enough free play for you to get through all these matches, and you don't have to. That's how they got your quarters, man. They would get us for so much money on those arcades, man. And this is why I believe arcades kind of died out, because of the carny like nature of some of these video games back then. I mean, God, the amount of quarters that people put into Street Fighter 1 and you know, all these other games, it was crazy. It was crazy because they were hard to beat games. Really insanely hard to beat games. The last game that will be coming out is NES Volleyball, which I used to play. I never really was a fan of that one, but I knew there were people that really enjoyed that game. What I really hope that they do, which was a absolute classic, that they bring back Super Volleyball. That was a great game. That was an absolutely great game, but also, there was an NES version of that game, but also, there was also a Super NES version too. Now, they have not released Super NES games yet on Nintendo Online, which they absolutely can, and I do predict that they're going to do that someday. But even if they get volleyball in there, that would be awesome. And if they do get Super NES games, please get Saturday Night Slam Masters. That's all I'm saying. Or Capcom, come on, jump on that. Give us a whole Saturday Night Slam Master deal. I want to play that game again so bad. You don't understand. So, yeah, that's all for now on the Nintendo note. Let's go into some PlayStation news here, in which, very interesting, PlayStation 4 owners, we got an update for 6.70, which was reportedly to cause a lot of problems for some gamers involving YouTube trophies and other issues, are now officially fixed thanks to PlayStation 4's 6.71, which I believe has fixed all of those issues. But that's not the news that I want to talk about. The news that I want to talk about is this new beta that they're coming out with, which is believed, many on YouTube is believing it to be a 7.0 beta. But this new beta is going to be coming, and it involves some PlayStation 4 features, including the ability to have remote play along with your controller on the iOS. For those of you Android owners, the iOS is the operating system for Apple products. So, which means that for the first time ever, we're going to be able to use a PlayStation controller to play games for Sony games on an iOS. Which means, I don't know if this means we're going to be able to play video games from the PlayStation 4 on an iPad, on an iPhone, which will be absolutely insanely awesome because I own an iPad and I don't necessarily play. That means if I could play some of my games and still watch TV, you don't understand how really cool that will be for me. That will be a game changer for me. You don't understand. That will probably equal the amount of time that I play my Nintendo Switch. So that absolutely may change the game on a lot of things there. So not only that, but for those who play online a lot, that will also be a case too, because they will allow you to now play up to 16 players. So for all you ACMG Nation gamers out there, you know, this can change the game. We can play tournament plays and all the stuff now. That's 16 is the default tournament level that we could play. So, this could change the game for our ACMG Facebook group as far as doing tournaments and such. So, it just depends on how it works, how we're going to be able to put it all together, and how we can make it happen. We'll see. This could be absolutely awesome. I wish they had this during the time we did the Mega Fist tournament, Fighters tournament, and we could have had all the 16 people in one slot. It was hard to do because they were only allowed up to 4 at the time, and we had to just bring people in. Now we got all 16 people that are spectating, they're looking, that are playing. That's pretty damn awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I hope it works. I probably won't, participate in that beta at the time. I'll just let the pawns do it first. So, and figure out how to do it there. But the interesting thing about going back to the remote play function on the iOS is that people are wondering and speculating, is this the new thing to do, the new PlayStation Vita, if you will, because myself especially, I have a huge library of games that I have in my account, or let alone on my 2 PlayStation Vitas that I'm looking at right now, that are really sadly collecting dust right now. But mostly thanks to the Switch. But they're still in there. My Japanese my games and my US games are still in there. But still, is this a means and a way to actually play the library in there, some form of fashion? If that is the case, that would be fantastic. The amount of games that I have on that the catalog that I have is just immense. I mean, one of my favorites is, Def Jam Fight for New York, which is just, again, I'm looking at my PS Vitas right now. They're just collecting dust right now, but it is in there for me to play. I know, and I did hear that the PS Vita has stopped production, as well as the library in Japan. I don't know if that's the case, but I hope not, because I swear to goodness, if you guys never see what they have in Japan, it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing as to what they have there. And my goodness, I highly recommend, if you're a true gamer, if you're a former importer like I used to, and I say the importer as in people used to buy import games and spend a lot of money on imported systems and games and Game Genies and Swap Disk and all that stuff, go to the Japanese site, and my God, the amount of games that they got in there is insane. Some of them are old games, and I'm talking like Rival Schools, the first 2 Rival Schools, the one Rival Schools game that never came to Japan, to America, but it came in. It actually did. It didn't come in to America for the PlayStation, but it came in to the Sega Dreamcast in the form of Project Justice, which was like a graphically upgraded version of Rival Schools 2. In Japan, for the PlayStation 1, they came out with the sequel to Rival Schools, which had its own different, I believe it had a different storyline and everything too, but for some reason, they never brought it out to America. They came out in America with Rival Schools, with Project Justice for the actual, what is that, the Dreamcast here. So they actually, it's really cool. If they can make that happen, I will be more than happy to really invest in whatever they want for that iOS or whatever they're doing with that iOS system. It's awesome, because those games, old games, retro games, classic games should not be forgotten. And shout out to all of those retro gaming fans that are preserving and keeping those alive. And I'm talking about friends of mine too. Adam Shube, who pixel paints all the time. Go on his Twitter, his IG page, or follow him, Adam Shube. That's Adam, last name S-H-U-B. Phenomenal painter. He paints a bunch of different video game paintings. If you've probably seen him in a few local cons or some AutoCon and all that stuff. He's awesome. I own 2 of his paintings. If I can, I will absolutely always buy more from him. He's just that awesome. And Matt Papa, who's in Japan, he works for NT Creates. He's been on the show before. He started out, just doing a website for retro gaming, and these guys are preserving true art. These are absolutely true art. These are not just games. These are art. I always say, I'm cultured in a different way, where people will go to the museum to look at some of them, like Sargent and Rembrandt and all those other, great artists out there. I'm playing video games made by, Keiji Inafune and illustrated, done by him, or, Miyamoto or stuff like that. Those are my artists that is my gallery, if you will. Some people go to ballet. I go to professional wrestling. It's a ballet of violence, but it's still a form of art that they do. Art is everything, people. And I just love that they're preserving that type of genre and keeping it alive. And Nintendo as well, keeping the old library alive with online and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes, but I hope that that's the means for them to rather let us play PlayStation 4 games on an iPad using the controller and the remote play, Or also that means we could play our old library as well. We'll see. I'm hoping, crossing their fingers, that whatever they're plotting or trying to do actually works. Last bit of news, and there will not be a final stage today because I have nothing to review, but that's definitely going to be down the line. I'm really holding out. There's nothing really I really want to review right now, so I'm just waiting down the line for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and Astral Chain. Those are the two games I'm chomping at the bits for. I have nothing else. I will be reviewing probably Shang Tsung when he comes out on the 18th, and all the other DLCs or whatever comes out from there. So, I'll be checking those out. But right now, I really have nothing yet that I feel like I want to review at the moment. So we'll just keep it at that. But the last bit of news I have, and again, I talked about it in the beginning of the show in reference to how a lot of people are not coming to E3, whether they're still working on their projects or they're just reviewing, stuff there. And I don't know what was the gist of this, but another company is not going to be at E3 this year, and that's Rocksteady Games. A lot of people have been wondering and waiting what this new project that they're working on is going to be. A lot of people were hoping it was going to be a Superman game. They have confirmed that it is not. Now, granted, take note, it is not a Superman game, but doesn't mean it doesn't involve Superman. So it could be Justice League, who knows? Just keep your fingers crossed on that note. Could be DC related, could be something else, who knows? But they announced that they would not be showing any of their game, any of the new news on the games, the game that they're working on at this year's E3, and it's probably for the best. Last year, when PlayStation, which probably led to them doing the state of play now, decided not to do E3, last year was probably the worst presentation PlayStation has ever done in the history of the last few years. They came out and did this weird presentation where they had everybody move to different stadiums to check out their new games, and they had these really dorky performances and everything going on here. But it was all smoke and mirrors because a lot of the games that they were premiering, there were no release dates. They showed Final Fantasy. Again, they just recently showed Final Fantasy on a state of play, no release date. So we don't have anything going on with there. And they just didn't have anything to really show that got people excited like they normally did years prior. And they showed Spider-Man, which we already knew that was coming out. We knew that was coming out already. There was no form of excitement this year. Like, Nintendo blew everybody away. Nintendo was the winner of last year. So, with that said, I think a lot of companies are looking at how PlayStation did and how maybe some other companies did, where they weren't, like, things weren't finished, or they were coming out and making promises they couldn't keep and stuff like that. So it was, I don't blame them. I'm not mad. Not even disappointed. I'm actually think it's a strategic thing to do. If you're not ready, don't do it. It's just not the time. You don't want to rush a good game. And if you're talking about Rocksteady Games, these guys have done all of the Arkham games, and which is known to be arguably, and I only say arguably now because now Spider-Man's out, and Spider-Man is now stepping in to put their name in the hat. And as far in the debate of which the greatest game based on a comic book ever, and you don't want to mess that up. The Arkham games were arguably some of the greatest comic book video games series of all time. They still are. Until Spider-Man comes out with one or two more games that are awesome, that are just as awesome, they still have the throne. Batman still has the throne for that. It's just absolutely freaking awesome. And from that point on, we'll have to see. Rocksteady has done tremendous. They don't want to mess that momentum up. So, there it is. Co-founder and game director Sefton Hill actually, announced it on Twitter, addressing fans that, they wanted to know, who wanted to know that the reveal of their latest project. Sefton confirmed that the team will be remaining in London and hard at work on this unknown project that is yet to be revealed. The co-founder, again, has confirmed that it wasn't a Superman game. That doesn't mean it's not a DC-related game. It could be the Justice League. It could be something totally different. I think if they're smart, they could try to do something different, but, Pokemon has been... Game Freak has only done Pokemon... I think they are working on a brand new game. They are in the works of a brand new game, but for the most part, their biggest name claim to fame has been Pokemon. And for them to be able to do one damn game for over a decade and to become a phenomenon, and they're getting paid off of one game, that is a rare in the industry. A lot of people throw a lot of things to the wall to see if it sticks. They had one game, and that game since day one has been the reason why a lot of those people have salaries. That's amazing. Rocksteady is kind of in that kick too. It's like, y'all don't have to, as long as y'all keep doing phenomenal like games like that, y'all don't really have to do too much, you know? So we'll see. And I could be wrong, because the only games I've ever seen Rocksteady do were Batman. I don't know if they have another few games that they've worked on or not. I'm sure people can correct me on that, but that's it. I mean, we'll see. Next week is E3. I am looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. I will be doing a recap episode. I'm looking to see if I can get Chris Milicinas back on the show. If you guys remember from last year when we did a recap, Chris Milicinas is a game historian and TED Talk speaker who I had a chance to meet, and I actually read and purchased his game at the Smithsonian Museum when he had the Smithsonian game Art of Video Game exhibit over there, and the Art of Video Games from Pac-Man to Mass Effect. It was an awesome book. I believe it's still available on Amazon and other places. I highly recommend getting it and checking him out on TED Talk as well. He's really great. But he was on the show for his second time on the show, and he's absolutely great. He's a great guy to get some insider info on. He was at the event last year. I'm pretty sure he's going to be there this year. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting him back on the show to talk about everything that has occurred at that event this year and the difference it will be or has been without Sony this year, because that's going to be the biggest question. How is this going to be without any PlayStation anything, or at least any AAA, PlayStation games being announced or whatever like that? I'm sure there'll be a lot of third-party games announced for PlayStation, but PlayStation will not be there at all. And that leaves Xbox and Nintendo kind of in the open to see who's going to take the throne. Last year, Nintendo blew everybody away. This year, Xbox has to have that opportunity to take over the throne. It's only those two and maybe some PC. I don't know, but it's up to those two. Like it's neck and neck now. This is not a triple threat match. This is a 1-on-1, one fall to the finish match. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how this year is going to fare and what the loss of Sony is going to do for it all, but we'll see. We'll see next week. But that will do it, ladies and gentlemen, for this edition of Select Start. Guys, thank you so very much. This Sunday, I will be revealing I will be reviewing the final installment to the X Saga and Dark Phoenix. It's been a long journey for this franchise. It started off very strong. The third one, really damaged. Really damaged the series forever. Even though they did come back with First Class and Days of Future Past, which were really strong installments. Apocalypse was okay. You know what I just realized? They're doing this Dark Phoenix thing. It's the final movie. At the end of Apocalypse, they revealed Mr. Sinister. Interesting. I wonder if this movie's going to follow up with that, because that's interesting. And that's very interesting. We'll see. So I'm going to go to the movies tomorrow to see this movie. I'm not expecting anything from it. I'm just going to see it if it's good, if it's bad. I wasn't expecting much from it anyway, but it's the final installment. It's the final X-Men movie before whatever Marvel Studios do with that franchise. So let's see how this ends. And we're going to talk about it this Sunday on the Talk Time Live Prime show. So stay tuned for that and much, much more. You can follow me at Xavier Josiah on Instagram. You can also check out our ACMG Facebook group if you're 18 or older with a legit 5-year or over profile page showing pictures of you and you interacting with people and it's a real page and you're being really social. That's the people we want. We want fans. We want, people are fans of all things anime, comics, movies, and games. So go to facebook.com /groups/ACMG1. And trust me, you will not get in unless we feel that you have a legit site or a legit profile page. So just want to clear that up right there. Also, you can check out this episode and all of our episodes on TalkTimeLive.com, including our exclusive interviews with some of the best in all things ACMG, including Molly Flanagan, Kyle Habert. I haven't put that Kevin Conroy interview I did at Keystone last year, but I may put that up on the exclusive page as well. Tom Gibbs, the voice of Shikamaru, Baruto, Amanda C. Miller, just a horde of other people. I mean, game developers as well, artists, just if you want to check out all of that, it's all on our exclusive page. And if you're an inspiring artist or game developer or actor, you definitely want to check out that exclusive page because you'll get to learn a lot of what's going on in their worlds. And it's very educational and entertaining as well. So go out of your way to check it out. You could go on our exclusive page on TalkTimeLive.com or just type in TalkTimeLive.com/exclusive. You could go on there and check it out and enjoy it from there. And then if you own iTunes, because iTunes is still up as we speak right now until the fall, whatever what they're going to do, you can check it out on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, and Podbean. I always feel like I'm missing one, but they're all on there. You can check it out there as well. So everybody, thank you so much for the support. Please keep supporting us. And there is more to come, guaranteed, in the world of Talk Time Live. So thank you guys. And that'll do it. On behalf of myself, this is Dak Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. I will talk to you guys on Sunday. Take care. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.